to our meeting to our meeting after the meeting. We met today at the Assembly of State Legislatures, and today we have our executive committee and some other members of the body to address your questions and to just talk about what's been going on. We'll start with our co-president, Senator Kappenga from Wisconsin.
Thank you, Senator Niederhauser. Well, today was a continuation of our discussion on the rules that we've drafted at the last several meetings. So we had some pretty good debate on some process issues and also just on the sharing of power that goes on, and that's a critical piece in this debate, is ensuring that the majority and the minority have a good blend of power. We want to make sure that we've got a good balance there, so that any product that comes out of a convention for proposing amendments, if it went under these rules, would be balanced for the makeup of our country, which we feel is if you look at the makeup there, it's pretty balanced. So pretty good discussion today. Senator Long had some good things to say too in his comments. So Senator Long, I don't know if you want to add anything to.
No, it's an historical process we're going through right now, and you have a great appreciation for the ability of the founding fathers to have come to the agreements that they did, because it's not easy. You have strong differences of opinion between blue and red states at times, different perspectives. But the one driving goal that everyone has is the belief that the states need to take back some of their rights and power from the federal government, that the original intent of the Constitution has been skewered through many years of federal encroachment on states' rights. And whether you're a Democrat or Republican, I think there's a common theme there. So our rules and trying to put them together today is a process. We're not finished. We're lucky we have a good chairman. President Niederhauser has done a great job for us, and a steady job, which is required for an unruly group of legislators, which any time you get a room full of legislators, there's a lot of opinions and ideas, but it's been a good process so far. We've made good progress, and we're hoping to continue to do that tomorrow.
Secretary of our association is here, has done a yeoman's job in taking the votes and counting the votes. Your perspective on the meeting so far?
Well, I say ditto to what you guys have said. We've got a great group of people. We are making headway. We had 31 states express interest, so we're moving in the right direction. The debate has been healthy, and that's good for moving the agenda forward.
And that's Senator Tyson from Kansas. We also have our representative from St. George. It's good to have you with us, Representative. You want to just give your perspective?
Sure. Yeah, it's good to be with you. Thanks for the invitation, letting me join you. I think it's a productive day. I think anytime you can bring this many divergent views together from folks from all over the country representing their states, representing different political perspectives, and make the headway we did today, I think I feel good about it. The work is tedious, it's time-consuming, and I have to give credit to our president and our chair allowing everyone an opportunity to speak. I think everyone felt like that the meetings have been conducted fairly, and I feel good about the progress. You would expect something of this magnitude to take time. It's not something that's going to be accomplished in a few hours and even probably in a few days. But laying the framework, the structure for how a convention will be conducted, how it will be governed, how leaders of the convention will be elected and chosen, and what their duties and responsibilities are, that's really important. And so I have to tell you, I feel really good about the progress we made and about the direction of things.
Thank you, Representative. So let's take some questions. I know that there's been some tweets. There's whatever means we received those. Kirsten, you want to give us a couple of those to respond to?
Absolutely. We will lead off with a tweeted in question from Glenn Thurston. he asked a few questions, so I'll put them all out there. Whoever wants to can answer. How many amendments could an Article 5 convention consider at a time? As a follow-up, what would their proposal then have to be? Would your proposal then have to be passed by the states or Congress? And lastly, are states bound by anything to follow the proposals you're currently working on?
Great questions. Not the first time we've heard them. So the first question is, how many amendments or proposals could be considered at a convention? And that really depends on how many resolutions are passed through. You could have multiple resolutions that hit 34 and you're dealing with that, or you could have multiple amendments that are proposed within a resolution. So it just depends on what gets to 34 resolutions throughout the states, and then Congress would make the call and send whatever that is to the convention.
The Constitution, it can be amended two ways. The way we're proposing to do it has never been done before, but it is in the Constitution, and the founders anticipated that the states would take advantage of this. Probably be disappointed to know if they could wake up today and find out we hadn't. But what requires any action to get a convention of the states together, as Senator Kapanica was saying, 34 states have to pass a resolution on a specific item. Can there be more than one? Yes. There could be two that make it. Our goal is to make sure that only the resolutions that are addressed by the states in requesting a convention are heard in a convention, so that you can't have multiple issues going on at the same time that the states didn't expressly request be considered. So in other words, this runaway convention concept, one of the reasons we're meeting to put the rules together is to make sure that doesn't happen. So in the end, the last question I think you had was, how can the states just pass, accept it? Actually, the Constitution has to be ratified by 38 states, whether Congress makes the amendment or the states do, as we're proposing to do. 38 states have to say yes before it would go into the Constitution.
Perfect, thank you. Next questions. We meet again?
Yeah.
That's the plan. We want to finish the work that we've started, and so hopefully we'll meet again. It was a suggestion we might meet in New York next time, and we'll have to work on that. There isn't a definitive time or place, but that seems like a great place, at least from my point of view.
I would agree with that. My 13 and 16-year-old daughter will be very excited to hear that they may be able to take a trip to New York, so it'll be a good place for them too.
I'm assuming it'll be Albany.
Awesome. Along that same line, I guess, what do you believe is a realistic timeline for a constitutional convention to be called?
Well, first, just have to clarify, Constitutional Convention actually took place already. That created the Constitution, so we always make sure we're real careful with the language we use when we talk about this. The authority in the Constitution is a convention for proposing amendments, so it's not a constitutional convention, which is a common word for it, so I want to make sure we make sure we state that properly. And I forgot the rest of the question, so I'll let Senator Niederhauser answer that.
Want to restate the question?
Yeah, they asked about what's the realistic timeline for a constitutional convention to be called.
There isn't really any
Clarify.
timeline. It's just when 34 states have passed a resolution calling for a convention. And right now we're at 27 with the balanced budget amendment, and so as soon as 7 more states pass a resolution in their legislature calling for a convention for a balanced budget amendment, then the Constitution says that Congress shall call the states into a convention to propose amendments to the Constitution.
Great. I think this is a great question. How are the differences and conflicts between larger states and smaller states being resolved, if in fact they are being resolved?
That's a timely question.
That has been the biggest debate that we've had today, and sometimes it gets a little bit emotional. So there's the whole question about one state, one vote. The Constitution doesn't tell us how you would vote or what rules should be in a convention. That's to propose amendments. So that's why we're here, to discuss rules by which that would operate. If Congress proposes amendments to the Constitution, they do so with 2/3 vote in the House and 2/3 vote in the Senate. The Senate is a representative body of the states. It's equal in every state to senators, and the House is by population. And so there is the idea that we would do one state, one vote in a convention, voting on amendments to the Constitution. And there's an idea that it would be a convention of the vote would be each state would have a vote, plus there would be another threshold on population, which would be like the Electoral College. And those are the issues that we're debating and trying to find some resolve on. And I don't think we've quite found the resolve to that yet.
No, that will be, it's one of the critical things that we've been trying to work out, and there's so many moving pieces. So related to the debate on that are probably 10 other things throughout the rules. So it's a constantly moving target that we're trying to get to, and I think that I think the next, like the question earlier was, do we have more meetings coming forward? I think this shows that we are moving down the road, but we still have a little bit of work to do on that issue, and we haven't come to resolution yet.
The thing that's really obvious, though, is that our exercise here is very important. If you showed up to a convention of the states and you didn't have a set of rules, you could spend a month or two arguing about what should or shouldn't be the rules. By having something in place that a majority of states can support, hopefully, you avoid that, and you can get to the meat and potatoes of what you really are there to talk about, which is an amendment to the Constitution of the United States and what that would mean. So this is a worthwhile endeavor, but it's not easy, and it's a good reason why we're doing it early, before a convention of the states is ready to be called.
Excellent. Just a few more here. Will states that weren't here have a say in this process?
Absolutely. Yeah, what we're doing right now is we are slowly forming what these are going to be. But at the end of the day, every state is going to have a chance to look at the product that we create and say in their state, yeah, this is something we really want to make sure that if we do put a resolution through, we'd like to follow these rules. We'd like these rules at least to come into the convention. So the other thing, we hope that as we continue to move down the road at our next meetings, Senator Tyson said we had 31 states here this time. We'd like to continue to have more states to give input to the process, because the more states that we have, the better the quality of the product will be that comes out of this.
And remember that it takes 38 states to pass. And so the more states participate, the better chance that you have a good momentum for getting 38 states to say yes. And so I agree with Senator Capping.
Yeah, 38 states to ratify the amendment.
That's
Yep.
right.
So all you legislators that are watching this from other states and are not represented here, we invite you to be at the next meeting.
That's right.
Excellent. You're a good recruiter. Last question, then maybe we'll take some closing remarks. How is your work here relevant to an average, everyday American?
That is a great question. I don't know if somebody else wants to jump in, because I've spoken on some of these, but...
The representative from St. George. That's a tough question.
Yeah.
I think people across the country are concerned about a sense of isolation and distance from the average American citizen, an isolation and distance between what they're doing and what's happening in Washington, D.C. But what we're attempting to do, at least in my opinion, is to help close that gap, to literally bring government closer to the people and the decision-making process closer to the people through this process. And I think to the average citizen, for them to become educated about what we're doing and about this process that we're pursuing should be exciting to them, because it allows us, assuming that we're successful, it allows the states to bypass some of the obstructionism that's occurring in Washington, D.C., and get it at a level where the states can act, and then eventually get it to the people to vote. And I hope that to the average citizen, as they become aware of what we're accomplishing and what we're doing, they can become not only excited about the process, but also support your legislatures who are involved as well to continue the process.
Great. Anyone
Senator
else?
Tyson?
It's just important, as with all government. I speak to high school students and colleges, and one of the things that I always mention when I start out, I ask the class, can you name one aspect of your life that government isn't involved in some way or some manner? And so it's encouraging. We need people involved, and it does impact the average citizen.
I think it's important for everybody to realize, and you don't realize it unless you've been involved in state policy. In my short time in the legislature since 2006, I've watched the state legislature lose jurisdiction over issues to the federal government, who is reaching out and trying to control every law, every aspect of our lives. The design of our country was that power and control would be spread out among the states and to the people. And when we talk about the people, we're talking about your sewer district, your city, your county. All would have jurisdiction over certain parts of the law. And that's now being concentrated away from the people into a central location, Washington, D.C. And it doesn't matter who's in office, Republican or Democrat. In every administration over the last 10 to 30, maybe even 50 years, states have been losing their control and jurisdiction over what they can make laws regarding the different issues in their state. And unless the states stand up and do what they're allowed to do in the Constitution, the federal government's going to continue to do that. And I personally feel that's very unhealthy, because when you concentrate power in a central location, it becomes more controlling and corrupting. And we need to have Washington relinquish that control, which they're not going to do without the states forcing them to do that, and let that power and that jurisdiction be brought back to the states and to the people.
Fantastic. Anyone else on that one? Okay, well then we'll just finish up here with what's tomorrow going to be like, and what are your thoughts moving forward? Maybe if everybody wants to say something quickly.
No, I'll start to speak, let the president finish. Maybe we let Karen speak next, and everyone. But I think that tomorrow is an important day for us to try to continue to finish up the nits and gnats, if you will, of the rules. We have a couple of significant issues that are going to require some more work, and hopefully a few more states here. I mean, 31 signed up to be here. It would be nice to get to 35, 36, 37 states, and I think it's possible, having it in the Northeast, that we might gather a few more Northeastern states to our fold, and that's the goal. But tomorrow, just to finish up on a high note and to show the momentum is still strong for this effort. That's an important part of our day, and we'll start early and hope we'll finish on a high note.
I think that's a great summary.
Anybody else?
No, I agree. It's, yeah.
Thanks for watching. Appreciate you tuning in. And we have Senator Holtzman here. No? Okay. All right. So thank you for watching, and we'll stay tuned for more legislative updates when we get back in session in January.
Thanks, everyone.